piononos, which are made with ripe plantains, and this is another one of the preferred uses for plantains in Puerto Rico. We use them as much green as ripe, as we'll show you for piononos. Although we're going to use a little bit of a different technique as originally or traditionally used, where the plantains are sliced lengthwise, we're going to make little rounds, as I will show you. As for the green plantains, you're going to remove both ends. And in the case of the ripe ones, you're not going to need to use a set of gloves. The skin will come off far easier than with its counterpart in the green version. So once you have these out, remove it just by running your fingers. You're going to place the stuff aside. And we're going to make slices like about 1/8 of an inch thick. See, you want to make them like such. Nice and easy. You may want to use your finger to guide yourself and make sure that these slices are as even as possible. You don't want them too thin or too thick. And you need to curve your knife as you go through here, so you end up with perfectly round slices. So you need to adjust the angle of the knife towards the contour of the plantain. Once you finish, you're going to fry these in vegetable oil that you have heated like about 350, which is the standard temperature, and we're going to end up with these over here. So you'll see, you know, these slices are all even. I'm going to place them in the oil, and what we're going to get is, I'll show you in just a minute, we're going to end up with these pieces over here. So you can see these have been fried already. You see they have a little bit of a change in color from the time when they're not fried. Okay, so now I'm going to have these slices here, and you want to make sure they're nice and ripe. So, the next step is going to be, we're going to take a traditional souffle mold, and we're going to take our fingers and dip them in vegetable oil, or olive oil for that matter, and we're going to lightly grease, very lightly grease, the entire mold. And we have a little bit of baking paper. I'm going to cut it round so that it fits perfectly on the bottom, and I'll show you exactly how. You'll see it needs to be very snug on the bottom. You really want to stay away from paper coming up on the sides of the mold. And depending on the size of the plantains, you're going to be faced with two different challenges. First one is going to be like this. You're going to place, this will be the size of plantain, which will allow us like about, say 3, okay? You see right there, we have 3 of these plantains. It's really important that they're all looking this tight, okay? And sometimes you'll even have to like press to make sure that they're fitting there. Now, we're going to take one of these plantains and we're going to cut this in 4 to provide for this 4 little triangles. And what you want to do one more time is fit each one of these little triangles to make sure that all of the edges, as you see, are being fitted. Okay? Now that you have that right there, you're going to cut another little piece, and we're going to provide for this center as well. So now we essentially have the entire bottom of it covered evenly. Now, we're going to take plantains on the sides, and we're going to start with one, and this is a critical part one more time. You want to make sure you use pressure. Okay, you use pressure. Actually, maybe you can see better this way. Exercise a little bit of pressure to make sure they stay in place. You're going to make sure that now, see, they're like touching each other. That's another important factor. So you're going to continue on pressing them on and sort of squeezing them so that they're nice and tight. You're going to continue all the way around, doing an exercise in the same pressure until you reach the other side. And what we're going to do here now is, if you find yourself in a situation, as I just did, where for instance, I just barely made it to the both edges touching over here, you want to make sure that they both touch. So in the case that you have a little bit of a greater gap, what you're going to do is take a piece and just fit it in there best you can. Just your end result should be all of the plantains touching. Now, we have our molds somewhat ready with the layer of plantains. We're going to put these away. And now we are going to take picadillo, which was one of the recipes in the traditional pionono. However, these can be filled with your, imaginations, the produce of your imagination, in the sense that they can be beef or chicken or stewed land crabs or a series of other things. So, you can get creative with these. But we're going to use the very traditional, which is called picadillo, and you're going to fill the cavity with the ground beef that has been beautifully seasoned. It's got peppers and sofrito and a bunch of the other elements that make our culture, in gastronomic sense, very, very tasteful. So we are going to put enough beef here to fill almost the entirety of the mold. You don't want to come all the way to the edge, and as you're noticing, I'm not really pressing or packing the meat in there, and I'll show you why that is so important. Now, we are going to use a little bit of egg, and it's just beaten eggs. But you'll see as I'm going that you're going to need, you're going to pour the egg, and once you have enough of it in there, you're going to stir the meat, making sure that, it is actually going through, okay, all the stuffing. So when this coagulates, you have a nice tight pionono that is not going to break away or unfold for you at the time of serving. What you want to do is continue helping, as I showed you or originally, and you want to have just enough egg as is that I'm showing right here. And then once that's there, we're going to place this in a 350-degree oven. And remember that the plantains are cooked, the meat is cooked. All we want to do is just help out the egg to make it all come together. So in the case of this, you're going to have to bake them for like about 15 to 20 minutes in a 350-degree oven. And essentially when they come out, you're just going to run a knife around and unmold them, and you're going to have perfect piononos.